Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal professionals with the intelligence, technology, and human expertise they need to find trusted answers. Products include Westlaw, Practical Law, and Firm Central legal practice management software for small law firms. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Online at thomsonreuters.com. Access to Democracy is made possible in part by a donation from Firefly Credit Union. Firefly is the new name of U.S. Federal Credit Union, which has proudly served the financial needs of the Greater Twin Cities community since 1925. At Firefly, we guide our members forward and give them the power to chase dreams by delivering the financial solutions they need to get ahead. From checking accounts to mortgages, we'll light the way. We are Firefly Credit Union, and this is Life Illuminated. And Dr. Charles Crutchfield of award-winning Crutchfield Dermatology in Eagan, acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. A Minnesota native who trained at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Crutchfield personally treats all patients and states that experience counts and quality matters. Crutchfield Dermatology. Look good, feel great, with beautiful skin.
Welcome. Access to Democracy returns. Alan Miller with you, a first-time guest, and hopefully not a last-time guest, but Bryan Bellows of the Minnesota Wild. Bryan is the Director of Corporate Partnerships, and we know so much about sports being run by money. It takes money to run teams. It takes money to pay these tremendous salaries, and it takes not only tickets at the door and season tickets, but it takes corporate partnerships. That's your area of expertise, and it has been for 10 years now. So,
well, expertise is going a little far, but
well,
I try.
Bryan actually gave Sharon and I a terrific tour of the XL Center a few months back, and he agreed reluctantly to come on the show. But hockey, this is the state of hockey. This is Minnesota. This is where it all takes place. And, well, we hope that a Stanley Cup, not just the finals, but a Stanley Cup will come to Minnesota within the next few years. I think that that looks particularly promising.
It does, and I can tell you, because we've heard it many times, and I think everybody's heard it, is our owner, Mr. Leopold, Craig Leopold, has definitely invested enough money to get it done, and he's very motivated to do so, getting the right players.
Well, you just got probably the most outstanding name in coaching, or certainly the top 2 or 3, Bruce Boudreau.
Correct.
Was just hired. It was a tough year in terms of coaches because it's the 3rd coach who's been with the Wild. And I heard and met Mike Yeo. He was a terrific guy. Still is a terrific guy. Yeah. But the team, somehow or other, just didn't catch fire. So he was replaced mid-season by an assistant coach. And then the opportunity came for management to hire Bruce Boudreau. And he's on board. He seemed to be anxious to come to Minnesota. I think he's probably got the best record of any active coach.
He does, actually. It's like a .659 winning percentage, which makes him #1 out of all active coaches right now.
You wouldn't think that a coach could make a difference, but a coach can make a difference. And I think he will make a difference.
Yeah, that's so. You touched on Coach Yeo, Mike, great guy. It's one of those just funky things about professional sports of sometimes things might not just be going the right direction, and the easiest thing to change up is to get a new coach. So it's
it
unfortunate,
happens with
but
players
it happens.
also.
Yeah.
Danny Valencia, who was a twin, had trouble maintaining a 200 average. He has gone to 2 other teams since then. He moved to Oakland, and he's on fire. He's leading the league, or how do you explain that?
I don't.
How do you explain Robbie Grossman with the Twins, and we're talking out of your sport, I know, who kicked around for years and couldn't make it in terms of being a star, team to team to team. The Twins picked him up at 31 years of age, and he's on fire right now and has really been a spark for the Twins, playing a little better of late. So, what about corporate partnerships? What do you have to do?
Corporate partnerships is, I usually when I'm speaking to colleges or high schools or adult groups, you always try to break it down for them, first of all, to explain the 4 major ways that professional sports teams make their money. You have tickets, which is usually and hopefully will always stay the #1 source of revenue. You have concessions. Everybody needs to eat and drink when they're at a game. You have merchandise, which the Minnesota Wild are, it's actually 5th in the entire National Hockey League in merchandise sales, an average per fan, which puts us actually, it's behind Los Angeles, New York, all the major markets, Chicago, and I'm missing the other one, but so it's tremendous.
Because we are the state of hockey.
The state of hockey, absolutely. So so that's great. And
the other one is probably Detroit Red Wings.
It could be.
Because Mary, who's in the control room, just said that.
That's right, as she was saying, huge Red Wings fan. And then the 4th revenue stream being, the corporate partnerships, corporate sponsorships, which is a big one, and it's an important one, and we have excellent partners, and so we're out there trying to find eager corporate sponsors and businesses that want to use the Minnesota Wild and want to partner with us to essentially connect their brand to the state of hockey and to avid hockey fans.
And we're talking big dollars.
Correct.
But that's what makes the wheels turn.
That is correct, and it's something that I know, just being a sports fan and being in Minnesota my whole life, it's probably not one of the more glamorous things fans enjoy seeing or hearing about is how much money something cost, but in turn, you look at the payroll, and I mean the NHL payroll, it's over $70 million this past year, and it seems to only be trending upward. So I mean, it's players are expensive, and you've got to go out there, and we have a strong brand, and we've got a lot of willing partners willing to make the right investment to connect.
Well, you have names like Koivu and Suter and Parisi and Dubnik, and these people, to stay here, want to be competitive with the salaries elsewhere.
Correct.
It's a different world. When I was a kid, the owners virtually owned the players. Today, all the players have agents, and if they can't do it here, they'll find another team to do it there who will meet their demands in terms of salary.
That is correct.
So there we are. Now, a lot of people follow their father's footsteps or their mother's footsteps into their profession. In your case, what happened?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot with my dad being and my brother, both being in law enforcement. My brother chose that path early on. It's kind of, I guess, the black sheep in that realm. But
and of course, your father, Dave Bellows, who was the county sheriff,
Dakota County Sheriff, right?
Many times here as a guest.
As he has told me, and as he has made me watch sitting at the dining room table each time. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's. I would say I just had a sense for business early on. My dad's father worked at Coca-Cola, and it was just, I think he saw it in me early on. Is this kid's going to want to make money? I think is what it came
So where
down
did you cut your teeth as you went along?
In the sports world?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my background, I guess, would be being a local kid at Lakeville. athlete, played sports, hockey and baseball, carried that on to the University of St. Thomas, so stayed local with pensions for business and with a good business school with strong networking in this area. Cut my teeth in sports with the St. Paul Saints baseball team back in 1999.
Who, as we sit here today, are 8-3 and leading the league.
Are they real? That's terrific. Good for them. And in a beautiful stadium now as well.
Yes, indeed.
That they well deserved, seeing as how I was not fortunate enough to work in a beautiful stadium. I
No,
worked in Midway Stadium.
the
at
old
time.
Midway Stadium.
Right, which
Yeah.
it was an interesting job, and it was I tell young people all the time, if you can get a job in minor league sports to cut your teeth, do it. You will develop a work ethic that will serve you well.
Well, how does a referee or an umpire do it? They do it the same way.
Same way.
How does an athlete do it? They do it the same way. You
That's a perfect
start at the
analogy.
bottom and you work your way up, and you certainly have worked your way up to certainly the top drawer.
I'm getting up there, correct. Still room to go. Still more drawers to reach, but I'm happy with where I'm at, and the Wild is a great organization to work for. So
We were talking very briefly before we went on air about loyalty in terms of owners in this area, and it's really uncommon. We have so many players who want to come back to the Twins or come back to the Wild or come back to Minnesota, and we have long-term relationships. What is it about Minnesota that does that?
Well, I think as we kind of touched on a little bit, I mean, right away I think of Zach Parisi and Ryan Suter. And why did they choose to come here? They had at the time of 2012, I think it was, a free agency. They had any market they wanted to go to.
That's it.
For whatever money they wanted to get paid, could do. And then they chose to be here because they were from here. Ryan's from Wisconsin, but is married to a woman from here, and they love this community, and they love Minnesota and all it has to offer, and that's where they want to raise their families, and that's where they want to settle down. And where that was important is now what they did is they made the Minnesota Wild at that point relevant. And you made now other people, other athletes go, okay, take notice. Minnesota is a place I need to look at. So it was almost like beginning a huge snowball effect of getting more players here.
Justin Morneau
Mm-hmm.
still has a house here, spends a good deal of time here. Torrey Hunter wanted to come back to Minnesota.
Right.
He's going to go into the Hall of Fame wearing a Twins jersey. And we could run down
All the ex-Norse or Vikings and
Right.
Twins that still live here, correct?
Is it Minnesota nice? What do you think it is?
I think that plays a big part of it. I really do. I feel like it's a tough thing to explain to people from outside of Minnesota what it is like, but it's a beautiful, as long as you can deal with the winters, but I'm more than likely many of those people own other homes in warmer climates to deal with 2-3 months out of the year, but for the majority of the year, it's great to be around people that you can relate to, that are nice.
Well, we're 19 years Minnesotans now. The quality of life here is really, really above and beyond any place I've ever lived, and I've lived in a lot of different places in my lifetime, generally 2 years, and I get kicked out of that community. But we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and there is something special about Minnesota. There is no question in my mind, and I think it carries through, not necessarily to winning teams, but to the attitude, to the coaching staffs. Mm-hmm. Paul Molitor comes back. He comes back to the Twins. You mentioned Parisi and Suter and Koivu.
Yeah.
He could have gone any place he wanted. These people are here, and it's front office as well. Dave St. Peter worked his way up.
Absolutely, from an intern.
Really, from an intern to a very respected president of the Minnesota Twins. And your story is not different from that. Mm-hmm. You did too.
Yeah, it's a challenging, in our industry, and this could be very well for other industries as well, it is very challenging to rise through the ranks. You use Dave St. Peter as an example, and go from intern to president. For the simple fact that commonly, if you're willing to relocate, you have a better chance of leapfrogging positions to get higher up in the chart. So I think everyone growing up that plays sports, first and foremost, wants to play for their favorite team, which is usually in their market. So once we all get to that point where we realize we're not going to turn pro, I'm not a good enough hockey player, or I'm not a good enough baseball player, those of us that are fortunate enough to continue to work in the industry.
I realized that in first grade.
Right, you first grade. Yeah, so some of us later, some of us earlier. But it's an amazing thing to be able to combine all that and to be able to work in an industry for a team. Now, granted, the Wild haven't been around that long, but to work in hockey in Minnesota, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. It really is.
And that loyalty carries over to fans.
Correct.
You told an interesting story about the owner of the North Stars, who moved them away from here to really undying animosity. Maybe you want to share that with us.
The one in Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, every year, our group takes corporate partners on a road trip, to watch the Minnesota Wild play in a different city. And about 2 years ago, we went to Dallas. It was Mike Modano's retirement. So they were retiring Mike Modano's jersey for the Dallas fans. And already, right away, anything that involves Dallas is always a little salt in the wound. Most people haven't gotten over it, some have. But so we took about 60 corporate partners to this game. It's a nice couple of days spent, and we end up at the hotel across the street from the arena. And there's a balcony. We had a happy hour up there. I think it's the W Hotel. And all while this is going on, before the game, this is pre-game now, they have a red carpet event for all these Dallas Stars dignitaries coming in from limos from the street and then walking the red carpet into the building. And at one point, they'd get out of the car and they were all on loudspeaker. Norm Green comes out. Ladies and gentlemen, former Dallas Stars owner Norm Green. Meanwhile, there are 60 Minnesotans on a balcony across the street at the same time go, boo. And you had...
Norm Green was the owner of the North Stars.
The owner of the North Stars at the time.
And picked up and moved that team to Dallas.
Correct.
Obviously, the dollars looked big. And we actually were without a team for a few years here in Minnesota, which is unheard of.
Which is unheard of, correct. And as a testimony to Minnesota, I mean, hockey interest didn't die without a team. In fact, it only increased in all of the other levels of hockey during the absence. But it was an interesting time, as we all recall, not having a sports Minnesota, or excuse me, a NHL team in town. But
people don't forget.
They don't forget.
And I don't think Norm Green has a lake home here.
No, he hasn't. He's not one of those that has retained a living here.
Although, from what I see in the on the television, he may have a lake home in Texas right now that wasn't intended to be a lake home. But they've got some horrible floods down there.
They go through that every year, it seems like.
Now, Boudreau comes in. What does he do with all the assistant coaches? And there are multiple assistant coaches and trainers and everything else. He has carte blanche to do what he wants in that regard.
Well, I mean, he so far, I know it's already been out there that there's a couple of coaches that will not be returning, and there are a couple that are. Bob Mason, our goalie coach, and Darby Hendrickson is going to be returning as well. And
a former player,
former Minnesota high school star as well, and Wild star. And then I believe it's those two are retained, and it's more to be seen on who he's going to bring in. Really, it's going to be interesting at the very least.
For you, it's a 12-month job. For him, it's a Boudreau we're talking about. It's a 12-month job. For ownership and management, it's a 12-month job. Mm-hmm. For the players, it's what, about a 9-month job?
Well, I mean, I just was bumped into some players yesterday, actually, at a charity event that we had. And Zach was there, Parisi was there, and Matt Hendricks from the Edmonton Oilers. And I was talking to Matt, and he was telling me that he's just starting to get back into working out again. So these guys, I mean, they have to keep in shape. And Matt's 34 years old, Matt Hendricks. He's a former Minnesotan. So, I mean, they have to keep their bodies in shape. This is a different NHL than if you talk to Tom Reed, our radio analyst, a radio color guy, from the NHL back in those days when he was with the North Stars. It's, I mean, it's a young man's game, and these guys are in incredible shape. It's a fast, you know, the game's never been faster or stronger. So it's more than 9 months, because I mean, a hockey season alone, just the regular season, almost lasts that long.
It's still going on, I think.
It is still going on.
Still
astonishes me that it's going on.
As we sit here in June.
I hope to be in that position sometime soon.
Well, we hope so too.
Right.
Certainly do. It would be great. Yep. But so they do, and that's all sports now. Really requires a lot more physical dexterity than when Babe Ruth was playing.
Yeah.
And the stories about Babe Ruth and the athletes of that era are incredible.
It's amazing. I mean, we hosted this year one of the outdoor stadium series games, which was played at TCF Bank Stadium. And prior, the day before, the Wild took on the Blackhawks outside. The day before, we had the alumni game, the old North Stars versus the older Chicago Blackhawks alumni. And to talk with them and to have them just be very candid about what today's NHL looks like compared to the NHL that they played in, which ranges, you know, many years back. I mean, they recognize that it's a different game.
And that alumni game was not just some old-timers getting out there and skating back and forth.
Right.
There was an intensity there. There was a desire to win that was really surprising to me.
Yeah, it was Coach Lou Nanny, which was the coach of our alumni team. He made a point, because it was a mix of old North Stars, and then they peppered in some former Wild players.
Right.
You know, Wes Walls, who works with us at the Wild, was there. I think Darby played as well, but Lou basically gave them and said, once the third period hit, to all the older ex-North Stars, none of you are getting off the bench. It's now time for the younger guys to play, because he wanted to win.
And
he wanted to win bad.
And
we won.
And we won.
And
yes.
we won. Which we still had. I think it was 38,000 people showed up.
It was an incredible
for the
crowd.
Alumni game.
Outdoor in Minnesota.
The Chicago Blackhawks alumni seem to play every single year, because the Blackhawks, as popular as they are in the NHL, always get an outdoor game, it seems like. And the Blackhawks alumni at an after party, several of them were blown away. It was the most people that had ever attended an alumni game. So they were loving it. It was just a very festive time.
And then a regular season game the following day.
That is correct, which, again, the setting was beautiful. I went as a fan, because it's an NHL-run event. And it snowed a little bit, but not enough to collect on the ice, and the Wild absolutely routed the Chicago Blackhawks 6-1.
Yes, they did.
It was terrific.
I watched that game. I wasn't there, but I saw it.
Anytime we can beat the Blackhawks, that's what...
But I did tell you, I saw Bobby Nystrom get the winning goal of the first Stanley Cup that the Islanders New York Islanders, Long Island Islanders, I don't know what they call them today, ever won. And that's one of the experiences in my life, having been a sports fan, tried everything, succeeded at nothing but maybe ping pong and bowling, but tried skating, walked around on my ankles on a lake in New York where we were living at the time. I said, that's not for me.
It's a challenging thing to learn. You have to learn it early on, or else it's tough to keep up, that's for sure.
TV money is one of the big areas that supply the team with the money to hire the players and everything else that's required. Do you have anything to do with the TV contract?
I do not, specifically with the negotiation that goes on with that. The Wild TV relationship is with Fox Sports North. And it's definitely, it's a big investment that Fox Sports makes in the Minnesota Wild. They do so with other teams as well, the Minnesota Timberwolves as an example. And they do so in you know, hedging the fact that they are going to make money themselves with selling the TV spots around the game.
And they do with
which
sponsors,
they do.
yeah.
Right. So TV ratings have been very good for the Wild, which is, for us, it's averaging over you know, between a 3 and 4 household rating, which during the winter is not an easy thing to do. I mean, you're competing with primetime television. You're competing with many TV shows that are in their current season, and so you've got a lot of competition.
You're competing with people who go to Arizona and Mexico and want to forget about the weather here.
Exactly.
Which I guess I could say I'm one of. I mean, we get out of here at least for a couple of weeks in what we hope is the coldest portion of the year, but we never know exactly where that's going to be.
You're banking,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what else can we talk about in terms of corporate partnerships and the Wild, and anything you would like to discuss with our many fans, YouTube, Egan, Burnsville, our website, etc.?
I think just hockey in general. I mean, I don't have a ton more to touch on. It's our fans are fantastic. And when I say our fans, hockey fans in Minnesota. I mean, it really is. I kind of joke about it being a no-brainer, but I mean, we have literally the greatest fans in the entire world. I mean, we're 15 years in, and we set an all-time attendance record this year of per game attendance of 19,062.
Which is more than the seating capacity, I think.
Which is more. It averages 106% capacity, which is put us number 1 in the entire National Hockey League. And I mean, it goes all the way down to the youth level. And what Minnesota Hockey, the nonprofit, has done and is still doing is amazing. I mean, I know it's the 8 under, the 8Us. They set an all-time record for 8U kids that have signed up. So hockey is getting stronger. It's continually trending upward, and that's only good things for the top team.
We have some great college teams here also.
Yes.
And I know there's a relationship between the University of Minnesota hockey team and the Wild. Right. And certainly some of those players only hope to graduate to the NFL.
Yeah, to the NHL, absolutely.
NHL.
It's you know, it's when we say the state of hockey, it's everything. And the state of hockey was developed when the Wild started, and it was sort of a moniker that developed at that point, but it wasn't the Wild that just created it. All we were doing at the time was listening to the fans, and what did they feel about this, about our state, about our area, and State of Hockey was born from that. So it takes it all the way down. We just happen to be the highest level of play. That's one thing that our branding and our marketing team has done so well.
And we've been talking with Bryan Bellows. I have to cut him off here.
Yeah, no worries.
Simply because we've used up our allotted time.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Come back and go Wild.
Go Wild.